to talk about time. So let me go ahead and show you my screen really quickly. Oh, did you work on the calendar, or did you have
I literally went to bed like 12:30 but my assistant just came back today. She got COVID, and then before me had COVID, so I was like really.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So I'll go ahead and start. So we talked about the why yesterday, the brain development, and we just talked a little bit about how some things are working for you. And so today we're going to talk about time and why time is important. So having the time in your family and having the structure, the organization, you cannot get back time. It impacts the family system, like we talked about yesterday. And then the other important thing about time is that it motivates us. So with structure, having the consistent routines and expectations is a solid foundation that helps everyone adapt to changes as needed. And so it promotes less fear. So when there's structure, and it's not like a fear where you're scared someone's going to hurt you. It's more of an internal fear because you don't know what's going to happen. So when you have the structure, you're taking away that anxiety and fear. It just happens organically. So that's one important reason. The other reason is organization, because it allows you to concentrate on what needs to get done that day instead of being distracted by things around you. So when you're organized and you have the structure and you have your list or whatever it is, you concentrate just on that. And then you're not distracted by all the other things that you're thinking about, like that don't need to be done that day, that you want to do on the weekend, or you have to plan something some other day. So you just focus on that one piece of organization for that day. The other reason it's important is you can't get it back. It's the only thing you can't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Time is, and especially as we get older, I tend to realize how quick time goes. And so I really try to make the most of it and be very conscious of how I spend my time. And yeah, I waste time on the internet or scrolling on social media, but I really, really try to stay structured during my day. And with the family system, it impacts it because whenever you have the structure and the organization, it builds confidence within the family members. So if they know what's going to happen, the fear is gone, it's taken away, then confidence begins to grow and people know what's going to happen. And then there's less overwhelming things happening within the system. And so there's less arguing and fighting and conflict. And not fighting where it's like constant scream, but there's just less tension too, because everyone's confident and they know how the day is going to go. They know what's going to happen, and everyone feels less overwhelmed. And it also, the important thing about time is it motivates us. It can motivate you intrinsically or extrinsically. So intrinsically, it feels good when you're doing things that you feel are important during your time. You're going to keep wanting to do it because it makes you feel good intrinsically, and it makes you feel good about what you're doing during your day. Or it can do it extrinsically. For example, you want to lose weight for a wedding, so you're really motivated to not eat a ton of candy and a ton of desserts. So it can be either way, but time is important because it will help motivate you to get a goal accomplished. So those are like the 5 main reasons that time is important. And I think the most important, especially in a family, is it lowers anxiety and it lowers the fear that causes so much stress within the structure of the family. So I know you did not do the calendar, but that's okay. So I'm going to show you some different calendars examples that we have. Now, I know there was a couple in the workbook. So there's a weekly planner where you can plan out the full week, right? So you have, and I do this, I plan out my full week, but then I go to the day. So you can do it hourly. You could just put a to-do list with your priorities. It's kind of all in how you feel that what works for you. So everyone is different on their different ways of creating structure. I use an actual like planner that is similar. So this is I write everything in it for the week. And then during the days, I'll put the days of the things I need to do. I don't really do the hourly time block right now, but I have, and I'll talk about that in a second.
You always do it on paper, or
I do both because I'm pretty ADHD myself. And
like,
so I actually have it on my phone too. So we have a family calendar that I keep. I don't know if it shows on here, but
yeah.
everything on my phone also. So I do both. So the phone one is for me, like in the mornings when I wake up, I'll look at it really quick. But then the paper one is for like really specific little tasks that I want to get completed.
Okay.
And so that helps me, like, especially like one of the big things that's helped me with is paying like bills on time, because for whatever reason, all of our bills are due at different dates. And so now I plan a date, like I have a specific day and I have it written down on my calendar that I pay everything. So things aren't late, because it wasn't all the time, but I would sometimes pay things late, which was silly. There was no reason for it, but it was because I wasn't organized enough. The other thing you can do is a tracker, in which you're taking specific things that you're doing and you just check them off during the week. So you could create something like this, making it yourself. You can go on Canva, but then you could do one for home and one for work. So say you're
so sorry to interrupt. I just saw that. I saw the image and immediately came up the idea, because it's kind of what I did, the calendar that I try erase board calendar.
Yeah.
Things like the things that I want to become a habit. So it will be like my meditation. And I told my Johnny, like after 4 p.m., he needs to be cut off of electronics, because that's the time when both we are there.
Yes.
So I was thinking that I can put the bullets of the things that I would like to accomplish to become habits. And maybe on the Tuesday, Wednesday, I could just do a block. I did it this week. And then maybe that will help me to keep track, for somebody that doesn't have habits. So, then you can see how,
yeah, exactly. So you can check off each day.
Like I did it 3 days on the road, maybe next week, I saw it became the idea. So I was like, okay.
Good. Oh, I'm glad you liked it. So yeah, so I think that is a really good way for someone that's not used to it. And then you can do it for work too, if you wanted to. That's just like one that I found. And so Canva, if you like doing things on the computer, Canva, CANVA, is a website that's fun. You can create all kinds of different PDFs or anything on there, really. They have so much stuff you can make on there. So these came from Canva, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so then this one's a daily planner where you can time block again, where you can actually put the times of what you plan to do during that time, and then what your priorities are, and then some notes. So that's another way. And then I was going to talk about a time audit. So one of the things I did, I'm in a coaching program right now that's like helping me just kind of with everything. And so one of the things that they suggested was to do a time audit if you felt like your time was not all the things you wanted it to be. So basically you just start keeping track for like it takes time. And this is maybe not something you're interested in right now, but you basically do the whole day from like whenever you wake up till you go to bed of what you're doing every 30 minutes. And then you would do it for every day. And then you see where you're wasting time, see where you have time that's open that you could do whatever it is that you're trying to get done. But this is another great way to figure out what time is available in your day. So that's another thing to try. Krista, have you ever done a time audit, or Cecilia?
I mean, in like college, I would like closely track my time. It's like for assignments, but not really like a time audit like that. But I think that's a good way to know like where you're wasting time.
Yeah. And it definitely helped me, because my wasting of time would be like in the afternoon. Sometimes if I wasn't working, I would be like from that 3 to 5, and I would get tired and I would do like my phone or just wouldn't get stuff done. So it was helpful. So going back to the 5 keys to a healthy family, this is number 4, and this has to do with structure. And the way you structure your family life will add to that healthy part of your family. And it's just important to have that in there so your family functions well, and the anxiety is lowered, and there is less tension in the house. So this is a story I was just going to share really quick. I worked with a family, and this is a different name of the person actually, that were really struggling with time. And so, but what was cool is once we figured out the time issue, we were able to figure out how she could then get more support. So she was married and there was 3 kids, and I worked with 2 of the kids. They were military, and she was always overwhelmed. Their house was a mess. They were always arguing, but they both needed to work, right? And they were struggling everywhere. And they didn't have family here because they were military and they were from another area. And they had just moved here, and they came to me because the kids were struggling in the classroom with behavior. But after working a while, we figured out the why. So that was the whole thing. We needed to figure out why this was having such an impact. His behavior was impacting the family so much, and why he was struggling so much in school. And so what we figured out for their why was that they weren't spending enough quality of time with him. And because they were always playing catch up with chores when they got home. They were eating a lot of processed foods because that's all they had time for. And he also wasn't involved in any outside programming because of transportation issues. So he really wasn't involved in sports or gymnastics or anything to help get energy out or to socialize with other kids. And it was hard. And even though that we were just focusing on that one child, everybody was struggling. And so we ended up coming up with a weekly plan to help them gain more support. So what we ended up doing is once we figured out that why, we helped figure out other ways to support them in the family. So they had me, which was the therapist. And so that was good. But they also needed a babysitter and a house helper to help with different things in the house. So the mom ended up hiring a neighbor to help out after school to fold laundry and do the dishwasher and dinner and different things like that. And then she also started ordering groceries so that they would have different options that were healthier during the week. But because we figured out that why, which we talked about yesterday, and then we figured out their why they were overwhelmed and figured out that time piece, she was then able to figure out that what she needed was support. So that's just a story of how when you figure out the time piece and you figure out the why, that you can then move to the next part of you might need support in your family. And so it was helpful for them. So I just wanted to share that really fast. So let me stop this really quickly. All right, we're back. So Laura, do you have any questions since you're on here? I don't know if she does.
I know that I'm gonna have to get a tutor, somebody that comes and do Martin's homework.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then I know you suggested, and I should start doing now. So that will.
And I think that helps too, because and I think you and I had talked about it, but this is for people that also are watching it on the replay, that having that extra person there helps so much, because it's not the mom. And so when the mom isn't there, the kids they're much more comfortable with you. And so there's more arguing or fighting. And so if you're able and you can financially afford to have someone helping, it helps a lot, because it takes the pressure off you. You can do something else and you can have somebody there doing some of the other things that might cause tension. Okay, so we talked about the time and why it's important. And then for tomorrow, if no one else on here except Laura, but if there was, we could talk more about any other issues or thoughts people had. But what we'll focus on now is just for tomorrow. The homework is, what was time like when you were growing up, and how does it affect how you organize your time now? And how can you structure your days differently to help your family become more successful? And so I think whenever you think about these things and kind of journal about them, it just helps change your perspective, and it'll give you more just insight again to the why and what you can do to help make your family healthier. And then for tomorrow, we're going to be talking about communication. And this has to do with how you talk with your kids and what you say. And so what I want you to do for the rest of today is just pay attention to the way you communicate with your family and your kids. And I put some prompts on here Like how much do you say no? How many times a day do you say, let me help you? And basically what we're going to talk about tomorrow is how we can reframe and restructure the way we say things to our kids and how it helps.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I said, yes, please. I go ahead and tell you a tip because I think you growing your business and you're helping a lot.
Yeah.
But for somebody
Yeah. Tell me.
like me, you can read so many books. The way that I feel and two, I write, tell me what to do. And so sometimes you read and you know the theory is good, right? But a lot of books don't tell you how to say things. So you have never had my family was good. We don't, no abuse, no anything, no
Right.
language. But just with Mrs. Gorganos, right? I was said normally, don't run, you're gonna fall, right? And then I remember I just walked into the Montessori and they said, walking feet, please, walking feet. And then I was like, oh, I was like, that's a really good way. So sometimes is people give samples for somebody that doesn't have no clue, then that helps because they know like, or, no, thank you. It was, it's a nice way to say, no, thank you. Don't do this rather than don't do this because you just don't know better, So
Right.
I think sometimes it's like, say this instead of that, because you can read a lot of theory, but you don't have the example, you have never seen it, then you cannot come up with these ideas. And another morning here, you like, I don't want this, so like you have this or this, which is gonna be, and another thing that I learned is to say, I should say like, if you don't, until you don't eat, you cannot play, right? So I just learned this to say like, when you finish eating, you can play. And it actually works, but I have happened to actually see somebody say like, oh, I can say this. So I think those things help for somebody that doesn't have no clue. You want to do it, but if you don't have the direct basis, you can say, talk to your kids in a way that it will work, but sometimes you don't know how to do it. So I think those things will help a lot.
Oh, good. I hope so. And that's kind of my thought in doing all this is trying to help people that don't know, because I know how hard it is. And if you've never, for me, I think working in a school taught me so much because I was there all the time with all those kids. And so, but not everyone's done that. So that's kind of my goal is to help more families in teaching them these basic things like you're saying, Laura, because I do think a lot of people don't know and it's hard.
I mean, you want to do it, but like, you don't, it's, it's like, don't do this because so this, or, so I think that will help out, tremendously.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And tomorrow, hopefully it'll go, we're going to go through it and talk about some different, like you were saying, different ways to structure sentences and different ways to say prompts or directives and give you some more examples that I hope will help and talk about why that happens and why it's good for them. And in the workbook, if you look through there, I put some different, if you go through that workbook today, I put different sentences that you can try. And we'll talk about feelings too, because I think a lot of us forget to put the feeling component in there. And so we're going to talk about that tomorrow also with the communication. So, yeah, that's it. And one more thing I am doing in August, and this is for anyone that's listening, if you're not on this Zoom right now, I'm going to start a 3-week boot camp in August. It starts August 1st. And it's going to be week 1 is understanding developmental stages. That's going to help with behavior. Week 2 is going to be routines. And week 3 is staying consistent. And so we're going to get much more in depth.
For me.
We're going to get much more in depth with each of these. And so this only thing with this class that's a little bit different is I am charging for this class because it is 3 weeks and I will be doing one-on-one time with each of the participants. And then there'll be questions and answers and then group sessions weekly. So if you're interested and you're interested in it, and just let me know and we can talk privately about how it'll work.
Send me the info.
Cool. All right. Do you have any questions for today?
No, I will do the book and I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
It gets us motivated, and I think as you read more than because then you lose track, you know. And
I
so I
agree.
think it's important that you're present. So
Good. Well, thank you. And thanks for coming. And Krista and Cecilia, thank you for being here. And we'll meet back tomorrow at 9, and we'll see you guys then.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.